Hey everyone, I already showed you my Disgaea, Neptunia, and Senran Kagura collections. Now I'm going to show you some of the more mainstream games I have. I got a lot of comments asking me to show my console collection, but we'll get to that another day. And there's actually a few boxed ones I have, so that'll be a bit interesting. But in this video, we'll take a look at my collection of Pokemon games. It's not that much, I'll be perfectly honest. Other people certainly have more impressive collections, and it's certainly much less complete compared to what I've shown you in the past. With this, my goal is to have at least one game per generation. Ideally, one of the paired games, and then the remake or whatever the second set of games is. Currently, I'm missing Gen 1 and 2 games, but I've got at least one for Gen 3 and up. I was one of those people who was into Pokemon ever since the very beginning, and while I liked watching the show, I actually never ended up getting blue, red, or yellow when they were new. Or at all, actually. I kinda ended up living through my friends in that regard, so I was aware of a lot of the details and even rumors of the time, like the whole Mew under the truck thing that never ended up being true. I actually really started playing the games with Gen 2, but on an emulator on a PC. This was back in the early 2000s. I played Silver and I loved it. I skipped Gen 3 because apparently in high school liking Pokemon was considered uncool, but when Gen 4 came around I decided to not really care about trivial things like that, and I went into Gen 4 hard. And at the same time I decided to catch up and play Gen 3 games as well. So here are my Generation 3 games for the Game Boy Advance. I have Fire Red and Emerald. I actually wanted Leaf Green instead, but I take what I can get for a decent price. In the end, it doesn't really matter too much, but I always like having whatever version I think I would have preferred back when I was a kid. As you can see, I have the Player's Choice version, which does not come with a GBA wireless adapter. I do have one, sealed even, which I got for 99 cents when Zellers went out of business. I like the GBA packaging a lot. They're the last cardboard boxed games you could buy, I think. Oh look, it's a face! On this side too, but it looks a bit sad. Here's the cartridge and that little white dot on my IKEA desk that I can't get rid of. There's a bit of literature in here too, which is pretty cool. There's 2 pamphlets to sign up for Nintendo Power. I think one of them is for my copy of Emerald, and for some reason it ended up in here. When's the last time you saw a sign up form like that? I think that's pretty cool to have. And this poster just shows you all the other Pokemon related stuff available. I don't have a manual for it, which is a bit unfortunate. I really like the sparkly design on the Emerald case, like when you move it around in the light a little bit. Something I really like about Gen 3 is that they're the last really classic feeling Pokemon games, for me anyways. They're the last true 2D games. Gen 4 used 3D environments, so it's not quite the same. Gen 3 also has really smooth 60 FPS battles. Actually, everything is 60 FPS, so that's a really nice thing, and it's not something you'll find in later games. The cartridge also got the cool sparkly treatment. You may or may not know this, but Emerald as well as Ruby and Sapphire have batteries in them, and you might be able to see them through the case here. They're not for save game storage, but rather timekeeping. I do need to change this one day because the battery is dead in this one. I do have a manual for this one, thankfully. It's that classic landscape format that's been used since the Game Boy days. It's in color, of course, and there's even the occasional illustration in there. The earlier illustrations had an interesting desaturated look that's disappeared around Generation 4, but it's still intact here. And here's another poster with the Hoenn legendaries, and the bottom bit shows you other Pokemon related stuff you could get at the time. Now it's Gen 4 time. I've got 3 games here, Diamond and Pearl as well as Heart Gold. I don't have a case for Diamond, just the cartridge. My copy of Pearl is a little dirty on the front, but otherwise it's good. The shimmery effect is kinda mad, it's like really over the top. These DS cases are so ridiculously sturdy and chunky, kind of like the GameCube cases. I don't find the Gen 4 manuals as nice as the earlier ones, but at least they're in color. I really liked Gen 4. The online trading was amazing. There was just something really exciting about them, just maybe they were just modern enough that they felt a bit different from the Gen 3 games. An interesting fact is that I actually played Platinum on an R4 flash card. I bought Diamond and Pearl to make myself feel better, but I actually never really played them. I'm a big fan of the Sinnoh region, I spent a lot of time playing Platinum. Heart Gold is up next. I actually wanted to get Soul Silver because my Pokemon journey started with Silver, but again, there's something I could get for a good price. And it's also in really good condition, so I don't really mind. The box design is really cool with the textured finish. And personally, I think this probably looks better in gold because the gold kind of emphasizes the texture a bit more. And plus, it's a bit more colorful than silver, which is basically just gray. There's a game case inside as well as a Pokewalker, which I did a video on about last year, I think. Oh look, it's another face. The Pokewalker is actually not in here. I keep it in a drawer in my desk. It's just a fun thing to have, and I like to look at it from time to time. And here's the game. Something I'm a bit curious about is the manual. It's printed on matte paper for some reason. Everything about it is correct, and it's even bound with staples, and there's nothing wonky about it, but the paper is so different compared to all the other Pokemon manuals. Is this a reprint or something? Maybe someone with Heart Gold or Soul Silver can chime in on that and let me know. I have a really hard time pronouncing Soul Silver for some reason. Ugh. Every video I say it on, I struggle with it. Next up is Gen 5. I have White and White 2. For some reason, I had a real bad impression of these games at the beginning, and I have no idea why. My friend showed it to me, and for some reason I just wasn't impressed. But then I played White, and I really liked it. I actually can't remember what caused my initial dislike. There's actually a few things that are notable with Gen 5 games. They're the last games to feature sprites, and they even have animated sprites, and that's the first time they were animated since Crystal, I think. The Unova region is dark and moody in a lot of ways, since it's supposed to be all urban, but there's such a nice variation in terrain, and the addition of seasons really changes the experience. It's nice to see a place you've visited before in a new light. And the fact that Pokemon can be different because of the season is another nice little variable detail. Inside, we find some Club Nintendo literature, also known as the giant recycling logo cut out to lower production costs. The cases are still really sturdy, unlike some of the later Wii cases which flop around when you breathe on them. Some more period-correct literature, and again we have a color manual. White 2 is similar of course, but there's some info on how to get a Genesect. I have a feeling that this doesn't work anymore. Also, it's interesting to see stuff about the 3DS in a DS game. Now we're up to Gen 6, which I have a complete collection of here. X and Y and Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby. I was really into X and Y. Y is the version I spent the most time playing, like over 300 hours or something. There's something about X and Y that I really like. The region felt really big to me, is probably one of the reasons. Like there was a lot of distance between the cities. I'm sure it's not any different than in other games, but that's how I perceived it anyway. On my copy of Pokemon X, there's a little sticker that states that you can also play it on a 2DS. I bought this one a few months after release, while Y was a launch day purchase, and it does not have a sticker. An interesting detail, I think. The manual isn't exactly thrilling, just a pamphlet that tells you all the basics, as well as how the PSS thing works. At least it's in color, but I don't know if this actually counts as a manual. Remember that Lumio City bug? Basically, it was possible that a game saved and reloaded on the outer ring of the city would freeze the game, meaning you'd have to start the game over. It's something I'm still careful about, even though it's been patched very early on. My personal rule is to never save my game while on the outer ring of Lumio City, even today. Pokemon Y is the same as X here on the inside, except there's a little piece of paper telling you how to get Torchic. And it's also in color, which is kind of cool, and it's got some instructions and all that. The Gen 3 remakes are up next. I wasn't so into them. I don't really know exactly what the reason is. I think perhaps I didn't enjoy the interpretation of the Hoenn region that much. It didn't feel as full of life as Kalos did. I also thought that the colors were really oversaturated and it looked kind of unnatural. This time there's almost nothing of note in here. Just a piece of paper telling you how to open the digital manual. And the Club Nintendo info is integrated into the backside of the cover sheet, which is interesting. Now it's Gen 7 time. Oh geez. I was so excited for Sun and Moon. I bought a set that comes with both games and an exclusive steelbook. I was thinking how I was going to really get into these games and make tons of Pokemon videos, but that never happened. This is the first gen I lost interest in after playing for a few days. I'm not going to go into detail, I already talked about this subject at least twice I think. But let's just say I don't really feel like getting Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon. I haven't even opened Moon. Here is the steelbook. There's space for both games in there and some tabs to hold your pretend manuals. The background image shows the Alola region in all its disappointing glory. Okay, let's actually open up the game here. On the inside, there's a piece of paper about the Z ring. The back shows some info about the then upcoming update to Pokemon Bank. I like how even the most recent Pokemon game in my collection has something out of date in it. And this time, there's no Club Nintendo info on the back of the label because that went away between Gen 6 and 7. And that's my Pokemon collection. Like I said, it's not very impressive. I would really like to have some sort of Gen 1 and Gen 2 representatives, but they are a bit pricey unfortunately. And it's not just the cartridges I want, I'd like to have the packaging too. But that's it for now. Perhaps next time we can take a look at some of my consoles, since that's been requested in previous videos. Thanks for watching and I'll see you again in the next video.